Roar!
Ew. Luna Beats a Dead Horse by Dark Horse. Into the belly of the beast. Bored, 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 bored. Luna sat in her room, looking out at the late afternoon sun and counting down the minutes until she'd need to race the moon and take her turn at watch. An echoing sound of 3 sets of hoofsteps in a distant hallway finally provided her a brief respite from tedium. Judging by the length of stride, the loudest belonged to Celestia. No pony else had legs that long. The other couldn't be any pony else but Twilight Sparkle, with her characteristic high-speed stepping exuberance well with her mentor. The last was vaguely familiar, but definitely not common. The sound of carefully timed hoofs gnawed at Luna. Where had she heard that sound before? Applejack? No. Fluttershy? Maybe. More hoofsteps clattered. Closer now, right behind. Who was that third pony? "Good afternoon, sister," she said, not even turning to face them as they stood in the doorway. She still hadn't finalized her guess. "And Twilight Sparkle?" The third pony had to be Maya Mare. "And..." Finally, whirling around, she found her predictions were woefully inaccurate. Luna gave a frustrated snort. "Rarity! What brings all of you here?" "Oh, we were just visiting," Twilight said with a cheerful smile. "I wanted to say hello on my way out. Are you busy?" "I'm afraid not," Celestia answered for her sister. "She finds herself at loose ends these days." The beginnings of a glare formed on Luna's face, but she soon relented, nodding as she looked at the floor. "You just need a hobby," Twilight said. "I love reading, as I know you do. Why don't you try the other side? Writing?" Luna held a hoof up to her mouth for a moment, but still wore a frown. "But what do I write?" "Oh, just have fun with it," Rarity chimed in as she stepped to the front. "Do what every pony else is doing." "Oh, that's just beating a dead horse," Twilight replied with a grimace. What a dreadful thought. But if that's what ponies want... Luna sat in front of her computer, looking over the highest-rated recent novellas released for public consumption rated by the Canterlot Times viewers. Luna uses a toothbrush. Luna discovers crabgrass. Luna eats her first fluffernutter. She appeared to be a subject of choice. It was odd, but when in Rome, and with a dead horse no less. Her first idea forming already, Luna began typing on her word processor, sending her words flowing onto the screen. Luna was soaring over the forest at night on her patrol route when she encountered a gruesome sight. A limp body lying on the crude path below. She landed next to it and prodded it with a hoof, but there were no signs of life. Pressing an ear to its chest, she could detect no breathing or heartbeat, and the smell soon convinced her that she was far too late to be of any help. She pulled a golf club from her saddlebags and gave the body a solid whack. It did nothing to revive the poor beast, but it didn't seem to be any the worse for wear either. She hit it again and again, to no useful effect, but it wasn't any less gratifying than her monotonous sentry duty. It was an average evening. After stretching it out to a few pages, Luna submitted it to her publisher. He'd get things out in the public eye as soon as possible. Time to wait. Soon she had a reader recommendation. Then 5. Then 10. 50. 100. 1,000. Her breath caught in her throat as she watched her rating shoot up until she was at the top of the Canterlot Times daily recommendations. Front and center, for all Equestria to see. Well, that was easy. She clicked on her own story and scrolled through the first few comments. "ZOMG, no way that is real Luna! More! Please continue the story!" Luna shot out of her hair and ran to the window, her heart racing. A sly, one-sided smile crept onto her face until a trace of her sense of responsibility returned. Casting a cursory glance around the moonlit lands below her window, she saw no obvious signs of invasion. Surely the guards could see to it on their own for one night. She strode back to her desk, leaned this way and that to crack her neck, and opened a fresh document. Luna found herself trotting in the desert near Appaloosa for no apparent reason and happened upon a desiccated corpse. Some hapless traveler had fallen from the train without any source of water, no doubt. In the stillness of the noonday heat, she lowered her head and drew her mouth into a frown. Her respects paid, Luna pulled a crowbar out of her saddlebag and beat it against the body's flank. No life returned to the empty husk, but neither had its predicament become any more dire. She took another swing, producing nothing but a cloud of sandy dust from the bleached hide. A disapproving buzzard looked down from the overhanging cliff, but it left after considering its options. Once Luna had gritted her teeth and brandished the pry bar at it. All in all, the afternoon turned out to be unproductive, but at least the evening coolness had set in by the time she bored of it, making the remainder of her journey pleasant. With a giddy smile plastered on her face, Luna watched her story climb the rankings until it joined its predecessor among the top recommendations. She didn't even bother reading the comments this time, as her sales ratcheted up faster than she could track. No time like the present. On to the next one. Luna soared over the ocean, reveling in the beautiful starlight reflecting off the waves. She glided low, allowing her hoof tips to trail through the water and kick up a fine salt spray. Just as she was about to tilt into a steep bank for the return trip, she spotted an object bobbing like a cork on the surface. A badly sunburned stallion had apparently clung to that life ring until the very last, but in the end, it had been for naught. She pulled a pipe wrench from her saddlebag and clocked him on the skull in the hopes that she could overcome the astronomical odds against its being the right course of action. It was not. After a few more impacts, the body slid through the ring and appeared no more. A wasted hour? Perhaps. But Celestia could no longer harangue her about her pointless of toting a pipe wrench along on her patrols. Luna clapped her hoofs together as her name now occupied the top 3 places in the What's Popular box. Her high was broken by a high-pitched ding. Clicking on the icon that had popped up, she scanned over an email from Twilight Sparkle.
Luna, is that you? You do know that beating a dead horse is just an expression, right? You made it work, though. Why don't you try self-referential humor? You know, like a story about you writing a story about you writing a story. Ponies seem to go crazy for those too.
Luna slouched in her chair as she shook her head and held a hoof to her forehead. Indulging in a brief chuckle at her own expense, she did a search on such stories. Her eyes brightening, she scooted a little closer to the keyboard. Bored. Luna sat in her room, looking out at the late afternoon sun and counting down the minutes until she'd need to raise the moon and take her turn at watch. An echoing sound of 3 sets of hoofsteps in the distant hallway finally provided her a brief respite from tedium. Hello everyone, this is Visual Pony from Pony&Wolf Productions, and I thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to this video. At this point, I want to thank all of our amazing patrons on Patreon for supporting this channel with their monthly donations and keeping the lights on around here. Now, more than ever, it is important that you support your favorite content creators, because due to YouTube's new content policy changes, we, along with other content creators, had to demonetize a lot of our most profitable videos. For us, those are the Fallout Equestria stories. As you can see on the graph on screen right now, our earnings per video used to be relatively okay, even though the earnings were never enough for a viable career. It was enough for a good, decent side income. Now we are struggling to pay our bills. If you want to support us for as little as $1 a month, you can do so by clicking on our Patreon link down in the description below. And you can get wonderful perks like, for example, early access to all of our stuff. Sometimes things like this are recorded months in advance. voice acting lessons from me or Midnight if you really want to. And you can join our Patreon Discord server. Even though it may look like there's not much going on in there, I am actually checking it on the daily. Thank you for listening to this message, and I wish you a wonderful, wonderful day.